Я вот думаю, что сила в правде.
Я думаю, что сила в правде.
Угу. Угу. Да.
What does it mean?
I think the power is in the truth. Hello?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Where are you from?
I'm from England. Where are you from?
I'm from Russia.
Okay, how you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Nice one. I take it, obviously, we'll both want to talk about Ukraine. Obviously, I wasn't expecting to actually run into a Russian, so I was going to ask whatever question I was going to ask, and I might ask it in a bit, but I think it would be wise for me to allow you to put across your position first. So go ahead, please.
Okay, so my position is that the rebellious, the breakaway regions of Ukraine are now returning home, and I think this is the moment they have been waiting for the last 8 years since the government in Kiev, since the coup d'état in 2014 in Kiev.
Go on.
And I think that those regions will be better off as part of the greater motherland. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
So again, I wasn't. Again, not in a horrible way. I really wasn't expected to actually be speaking to a Russian. So I'm just trying to formulate what the best sort of way through this is. I take it. Are you? Is it fair to say that you're a nationalist? You're a proud Russian. You're in favour of what's going on right now. Well, sorry, I don't want to. I don't want to mislead you. It's not that necessarily you're in favour of human suffering. I'm not saying that. I'm saying on a political level, you agree with Ukraine being absorbed by Russia. Is that fair to say?
Uh, you mean nobody? I don't support people suffering. No,
Of course.
but
But politically, you agree with the war. Is that fair to say?
yes, politically,
Okay,
yes, politically, yeah. Nobody should support people suffering.
we agree on that. We agree on that. What do you think about this whole mobilization thing then? Are you being mobilized?
No, not at least yet. Well, I work for I work in a factory which is let's say affiliated with military industrial complex, so I'm kinda I get a free pass, should I say?
Hmm. Let me tell you something I find frustrating as an Englishman, right?
Okay, go for it.
Um, so there are in I'm sure you're probably aware, but I'm gonna start from the beginning in case you're not aware. There are various English people. I don't know how many. It's maybe in the like hundreds. I would say no more than hundreds. But English people that go out to Ukraine and fight. What bothers me about it is the idea that guilty by association. I don't really know enough about whether Russia's cause is legitimate or not. I don't think I actually can have an opinion because I am literally English, right? I am from very, very far away. It isn't actually any of my business what happens, right? And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but I actually mean it in a respectful way. If two sovereign nations go to war, that isn't necessarily my business. I shouldn't go out of my way to make it my business. But what bothers me is that these English people that go out and fight, whether it be righteous or not, are making Putin look at England like what these lot are coming over here and helping out my enemy. What I'm saying is by some English people going out and becoming mercenaries, they're not representing the state of Britain, right? They're going out as mercenaries to fight. They're making people like me guilty by association. I don't want to get nuked because I can't even pronounce most of these city names. Kiev, Donetsk, I can't pronounce them very well. I've never been to these places. I wish no ill will on anyone, human being to human being. I wish we could all live in peace. I don't agree with Putin as a man, right? I respect him as a man, as a man, right? I respect him, but I don't really agree with him politically. But that's by the wayside. I just don't like the idea that now I'm guilty by association. I don't want to get nuked. You know what I mean? What
Yeah.
do you think about that? Is that selfish of me, or is that reasonable?
Well, it is reasonable. Nobody wants to get nuked. I mean, seriously. But for me personally, I hope it will not come to nations nuking each other. Yes, and I think it is more up to people who call who run the UK, United States, NATO, EU, the EU. Yeah.
What are you guys being told in Russia that is the reason for going into Ukraine? Because what I'm being told is like Putin's trying to denazify Ukraine and all these other things, but propaganda is propaganda is propaganda. You can't trust it as far as you throw it. So let me ask you, as a Russian man, what's the reasons that you're being told to legitimize this war?
Well, you see, I think this is what's going on in Ukraine. It is unfortunate. It should have been avoided, and it could have been avoided. But you see, this didn't start because Putin woke up one day and decided, I'm gonna be the man who reunites the Russian Empire or the USSR or whatever. No, I think this is a culmination of NATO's war against Russia, which has been going on for at least 3 decades since the collapse of the USSR. And you see, NATO has been expanding for all those 30 years, absorbing new member states, expanding far to the east, and they literally expanded, and NATO is now too close for comfort, if you know what I'm saying. And
Absolutely.
yes, and it was about to absorb Ukraine and make it a part of NATO. And you see, Russian-Ukrainian border is like 1,000 kilometers long. And if NATO deploys missiles, let's say, in the city of Kharkiv, for example, near the city of Kharkiv, the missiles, let's say a cruise missile like Tomahawk missile, and its flight time from the city of Kharkiv to Moscow is 4 or 5 minutes. Of course, it is not safe, it's not close for comfort. And you see, I would like to give you a brief history of those breakaway republics, Donetsk and Lugansk republics. When the coup d'etat... Yeah, okay. Yeah, should I do it?
Yes, please, go on.
So, when the coup d'etat in Ukraine in Kiev happened, there are many conspiracy theories who financed the coup and all that. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but the fact is, after the coup d'etat happened, raging, should I say, nationalist people of Ukraine, they came to power in Kiev, and they were extremely like anti-Russian culture, anti-Russian language, they despise. They basically wish to destroy everything that is connecting Ukraine to Russia, and but those breakaway regions of the east of Ukraine, the Donetsk, the Lugansk regions, they are close to Russia, like geographically, and they are close to Russia mentally. They speak Russian. This is their native language. They were born speaking. They think in Russian, not in Ukrainian. So when this government, the Kiev government, came to power, they started to the very first edict of the new government in 2014 was to ban the Russian language in schools, and in official like documents should be only in Ukrainian. But the breakaway people, they did not want this to happen. They still want to speak Russian and be close to Russia. So at first it started as peaceful protests, but then the Kiev government sent neo-Nazi militia to suppress the disagreement. So the breakaway republics reacted by formulating their own militias, so the sort of civil war broke out. And but in 2015, actually Russia, Ukraine, France, and they concluded a Minsk and Minsk II peace treaty. But as what I think, as what I'm being told, that the Ukraine constantly violated the Minsk. They didn't actually follow the Minsk II accords, and they continued to attack the breakaway republics. So in February, and this continued up until February 24th, when actually Vladimir Putin and Russia recognized those republics and signed the Treaty of Mutual Support and Defense. And you see the Kiev government, the Kiev army, they continued to attack those republics. So Putin says, I'm tired of this, I'm stepping in. And he stepped in. And I don't think he actually expects that Ukraine is going to get that much support from NATO, so many weapons, so much money spent, so many people came to fight on the side of Ukraine. And I don't know.
I don't mean to interrupt, but let me say this just to respond to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I don't get it either. I'm not trying to imply I don't care about human suffering. I really do, but if Ukraine gets taken over by Russia, coming from an Englishman, mm-hmm. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Do you know? And the thing is as well, I really understand what you said a second ago about this whole idea that mm-hmm. NATO is getting a bit too close for comfort.
Yes.
I'm not of the opinion that there are heroes and villains on the world stage. Every sovereign nation, naturally, led by human beings, for human beings, by mm-hmm. human beings, wants access to resources, wants stability, wants security. I completely understand on that level where Putin's coming from. And I've got to be honest with you as well. Do you know what bothers me, right?
Yes.
I don't really buy into this whole right-wing, left-wing thing. I'm just a human being who has a brain and I think what I think. And, I can go into more or less detail about what I think. It's inaccurate to say I'm right or left or center or whatever. But I will say one thing, especially about what's happening in my country in mm-hmm. response to the conflict in Ukraine. All the left-leaning people are of the opinion, we got to protect the boundaries of Ukraine. But these are the same people that say tear borders down. Mm-hmm. Why is it the borders matter now? They don't. Everyone just has a bug against Putin because of what he represents. Mm-hmm. He is quintessentially, stereotypically Russian. Mm-hmm. And that scares the rest of the world. It's the stoicness, it's the directness, the frankness, the capacity to use. Like, I saw his speech, right? And I've seen various clips of him. I'm sure you've probably seen it where he goes to the factory and he's talking to the billionaire and he's very stern and he's like, sort it out or we'll start again without you. You know mm-hmm. what I mean? He's a very firm man. And I think what he represents bugs the Western world. But as an individual, I just want to live in peace. I don't really care whether he takes Ukraine or not. I just want I want as little amount of people to die as possible for peace to be achieved. Yeah. And to do that, I think Ukraine needs to submit. Frankly, they need to submit. What do you think?
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. And you see, my friend, no matter how many times I'm trying to tell myself that Ukraine right now, they are enemies, they are not. They are our people. They are our blood. They are also Slavs. They are Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox Christian. The culture, the two cultures, the two languages are very, very similar. Like, I'm sorry, very, very similar.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's still kind of... on the one hand, I understand that a lot of them have been brainwashed into absolutely hating Russia. I've seen a lot of them saying that they want to destroy Russia. They want many of them said that they would love to help America to destroy Russia. But I understand that there are people in the Ukraine who are not brainwashed and who did not succumb to the anti-Russian propaganda, who want to live in peace with Russia, but the SBU, it's like SBU is like a Ukrainian KGB. It has become another Gestapo. It mercilessly kidnaps and tortures dissenting people who disagree with the Kiev government course. Yeah, that's just terrible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me give you an observation that I made recently, right? So you know, like how whatever uniform you wear is representative of the job you're doing and where you're at. You know what I mean? Like if I go into a bakery and I'm working, I could probably put on an apron. It follows that your uniform is influenced by what your job is and where you're at. Dignitaries, politicians wear suits. They wear suits because suits, as we all know, the most respectable dress one can wear is a suit for a man, right? We're mainly talking about politicians, most of whom are men. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
What bugs me, and it's very subtle, but it's also very subversive, how individual politicians are portrayed. Vladimir Zelensky, right? He's always wearing camo gear. And I think to myself, I see him meeting Boris Johnson, who's the British he was the British Prime Minister until very recently. And Boris Johnson's wearing a suit, as he should. He's a politician. Zelensky's a politician. He's wearing camos. And what I don't understand is Zelensky will not put on a suit. And it's not that I'm upset about that in itself, but what bugs me about it is if Boris Johnson is going to a war zone, then he should put on camo gear. If Zelensky is out of a war zone, he should put on a suit. But the fact is he doesn't. And it makes me think to myself, there's a very subversive, subtle message there. This man's a freedom fighter. He's always at war. And it's like, no, he's not. He's a fucking actor. He's an actor, literally.
Yes.
Excuse my passion. Excuse my passion. It's stemming from a place of fear. I don't want to get nuked. I leave me alone. My life is hard enough. You know what I mean? You're a human being. You have family issues. You have personal issues.
Yes.
We shouldn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying this conversation. This is a very good conversation. But you understand
Thank
what
you.
I mean when I say we
Yes,
have to be having a conversation. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to have to worry about this. And I just think to myself, like, Zelensky, it's an image thing. Why are you wearing camo? Why all the time? It's insincere. Go on.
Yes, and a lot of people actually speculate, and some of people see his bizarre behavior sometimes, and like he's blinking his eyes, he's like, and a lot of people, and I personally myself among them, I think he's actually. No, he's taking some sort of drugs, maybe cocaine, because I've seen him rubbing his nose a lot, like a lot of times. Maybe he's snorting cocaine, or maybe, I don't know, but it's actually become a meme in Russia. But, Zelensky is an actor, and he's a comedic actor, and one of his sketches, he's on stage, and there's a grand piano on stage, and he's from another comedian guy, and he actually plays grand piano with his, penis.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. This is the head of state.
Yeah, and he plays grand piano with his penis.
Do you know what? I've got to say, one thing I respect about Russia is the way that they portray Putin. Like, he is a man. Well, I don't know whether he is. I've never met him. I presume you've never met him personally, so we can't actually say with definitive, unwavering confidence. But again, it's how it's all spun together. He is portrayed like a man's man. You know what I mean? There's something so striking about his image. But Zelensky's a clown. And again, that's no disrespect to the Ukrainian people. And I'll be honest with you, mate. If it came down to it, if you could actually, whatever we currently call the sovereign nation of Ukraine, if there was a referendum, not necessarily Putin's referendum, because I think he's he's being smart about the way he's playing that, right? Not to get too deep into that, but if we actually asked everyone in Ukraine, do you want to be Ukrainian or do you want to be Russian? If the majority said Ukrainian, I would say fair enough. Democratically, let them have it, right? But as far as it goes now, where there's an active war zone, where there's all these things that are up in the air, I think you know what? You got to give the bully your lunch money because he's going to beat you up otherwise, and he might beat all your friends up too. Do you see what I mean by saying that? I'm not trying to say that Russia is inherently a bully. I'm not saying that, but in the sense of like they're so powerful compared to who they're fighting. But there's another point. I'm being told in England that Russia is losing the war. Are you losing the war? Be honest with me. I'm not. Are you losing right now?
Well, I cannot say that we are losing, and you see, my friend, the Ukrainians, they've had some tactical military victory, some tactical success, that's for sure. This is, after all, a war zone, and, you know, on one Kharkov direction, they had some success. They have retaken some sort of small areas, and they attacked the least protected area of Kharkiv region. They attacked it with an overwhelming manpower superiority, and there was only like Russian, like a SWAT, SWAT team protecting the area, and of course they overrun it with much superior numbers, and it's only Kharkov direction. If we look at other directions like Zaporozhye direction, Kherson direction, Ukrainian offensives there fail constantly. But the Western media focuses exclusively on their tactical successes on Kharkov direction, and you get an impression that Russia is losing, but I don't think we're losing. No. And the true reason why Putin decided to declare partial mobilization is that because you see, the territories, the front line, it's very big, it's very like stretched out, so we need more people to control the front line, to control the territories that we have, should I say, occupied. No. So that's why we need more people. But just because Ukrainians have some tactical success on one direction does not mean they are winning the whole war. They might have won a battle, but not the whole war. That's what I'm saying.
I'm playing devil's advocate by asking you this. Do you not think that by mobilizing, well, again, I'm being told hundreds of thousands of troops, isn't it a telltale sign of losing to mobilize so many troops in such a way?
Well, 300,000 troops to be precise. That's what
I heard too. 300,000. Yeah. Go on.
So, in my opinion, you need this many to control the areas you have already, like, should I say, conquered, because it's one thing to establish, to conquer, but it's the other thing is to hold them, to protect them. So I think that of course the troops are going to be advancing further and further to the west, to Kiev, maybe, I don't know, because I don't think that at this point negotiations are not an option. Negotiations are not an option. Neither Ukraine, neither Kiev, neither Moscow are not going to negotiate.
Let me ask you a question, right? So I don't know to what extent that you support Russia, because there are people in general who are blind patriots, right? They will just follow for the sake of it, right? And maybe you are, maybe you're not. I don't really know, and I'm not judging you either way, but I'm curious. Everyone has their line as a person. They think we can't cross this. I think it's fair to say that you are of the opinion that that Russia's conflict with Ukraine is legitimate, right? when will it become illegitimate? If Russia takes Ukraine, they're successful. What if they try and take Finland? What if they continue? Where is your line as a Russian, as a proud Russian? When do you say, right, I think we've made our point now, let's just stop the conflict? Because it's a slippery slope. And I'm not trying to say it's morally comparable, but historically it's comparable. The Germans took the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia. First they took Austria, and then they took the Sudetenland, and then they wanted access to the sea, and then they took Poland. And again, I'm not saying it's morally comparable. I'm saying that in history, we can see that conquest is a slippery slope. Where is your line? When does Russia become wrong?
I think my line is that Russia will become wrong if by any chance, and if Russia decides to attack Poland or the Baltics or any member of NATO. I think it's very stupid. We should not play games like this, because Russia attacking a NATO member state means that NATO can invoke the Article 5, and that means that the whole of NATO must go and fight Russia. And you know what this means, Yeah, have you ever heard of a nuclear winter? And I don't want nuclear winter to happen. So my line is not to attack NATO countries directly.
And I think that's fair. And I've got to be honest with you. Again, in the same way that if I'm British, right, but I'm really like English. If England and Wales, of Wales, the country right next to it.
Yes.
If England and Wales have some sort of disagreement, you as a human being can have an opinion, but you don't really have a say. Do you know what I mean? It's not because you're not allowed one, it's because you're not involved.
Yeah.
It's my house. And in the same way, Eastern Europe, that's your house. I don't have a say. My only opinion is this. My opinion aligns quite well with what you're saying. I'd rather have peace. But if Russia wants to take Ukraine, look, you know that whole thing of might makes right.
Yes.
I don't think might makes right, but might is real. If I came to your house and I beat you up, and I don't mean it in a horrible way, I'm being hypothetical. If I came to your house and beat you up and took your stuff, it wouldn't be justified, but it still happened. And if you can't fight back, I've got your stuff. That is just how human interaction works. That is what we are. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Damn, I feel myself getting so wound up by all this, because I got to say, like, especially as an Englishman around so many people, and again, the whole stand with Ukraine. I don't stand with anyone. I'm sat down right now. You know what I mean? I'm an individual. I don't really have a horse in that race. So I do find myself getting very wound up, and I hope you don't take me speaking from my stomach as shouting or unpleasant or anything like that. I'm very passionately opinionated. That's all.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I understand you. And okay, but now I would like to ask you as an Englishman,
Go on.
What do you think about your current prime minister?
She's barely started. You mean Liz Truss?
Yes.
Yeah, she's barely started. I mean, the thing is, right, so I don't know what it's like. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of how politics works in Russia, but I'll tell you this about Britain. We don't have a president, we have a prime minister.
Yes.
Obviously, the head of state is a sovereign, who is now King Charles III, as you probably well know. The prime minister, we don't vote for the prime minister. We vote for the party, and the party appoints their prime minister. Well, the party appoints their leader, and if that party is elected, then the sovereign makes that leader their prime minister, if you see what I mean. So there's a lot of dancing around, but what I'm getting at is this. So the Conservative Party were voted in, I believe, in 2010, and the leader at that point was David Cameron.
Yeah.
David Cameron, obviously, Brexit was a whole great big deal, and then he left and Theresa May came in. She was useless. She left. Boris Johnson came in. He redefined what buffoon means. He's a fool on many different levels. And then obviously he left. So what I'm really trying to get at is, although I understand how my political system works, I don't really like the idea that the person at the top can just basically say, okay, who's next in line? Where's the general election? Where's the democracy? All of them are dickheads. Really, again, I don't mean that in an overly rude way, but I don't trust politicians as far as I can throw them. They're all in the same boat. They're all disgusting people. They're all actors. You know, so to answer your question directly, what do I think about her? I think she's probably a bit of a dickhead, but I don't think that's any different to her colleagues.
So do you think she's going to be better or worse than Boris Johnson?
What I honestly think is that my life doesn't really change either way. That is one thing I've noticed about politics in the West. It's all a pageantry. It's very theatrical, but nothing actually changes. So I think it's just a way to keep the masses distracted. And I don't mean distracted in some sort of like, some deep sort of like way they're going to put chips in us and all that. They're trying to distract us from actualizing ourselves on a personal level, on a communal level, on a familial level. So to answer your question, I don't think it's going to be any different at all. I think, you know, if what you're asking me is how will it be portrayed, how will she be received by the media, I think she'll probably end up doing a little bit better. She's the third female prime minister, and in Britain, as you well know, because of Queen Elizabeth II, rest in peace, the idea of a woman being at the helm is not an unreasonable one. It's like, we believe in Britain that as far as political power goes, we're equal. You know, a woman, a female sovereign is as legitimate as a male sovereign. A female prime minister is as legitimate as a male prime minister. So, but at the same time, there is obviously a societal and a cultural inclination to see women as weaker. And whether that's accurate or not, it's still very much real. And I think Liz Truss, the new prime minister, she will be portrayed as being better than Boris because she's a woman. But really, it doesn't actually make a difference to me sat here in my flat.
Yeah. Okay. And I actually I've seen people on the internet, especially left-leaning people in the West, they were, how should I say, this German word for gloating over, and doesn't matter. Some people, especially left-leaning people, were gloating over Queen Elizabeth's death. I didn't do that because although, our countries are not exactly closest friends, but, the head of the state died, and I would never say things like, hope she burns in hell. I would never say things like that because she's a head of a state. No matter how you love her or hate her, she's a head of the state, and although it's an adversary state, but still.
There's a level of respect. I think that's what you're trying to say. Correct me
Yes.
if I'm wrong, but what you're saying is that regardless as to whether you agree with another country or the politics or whatever, the head of state died. And of course, Queen Elizabeth II reigned for 70 years. Like, I think the statistic is only 1 in 5 people in my country remember a time without her. And all those people are fucking like 80. As far as like the idea of Britishness, the idea of, I've seen videos of her shaking hands with John Lennon.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of her with JFK. I've seen videos of her, and don't get me wrong, this is a very Western-orientated perspective. I can't tell you whether she met Putin. I can't tell you whether she went to Russia, but you understand that. Go on.
I don't think she went to Russia, but Putin came to England, and I think it was, the year 2003, I think. And I think they actually rode in the same, should I say, carriage.
They did, yes. That did happen. And the thing is, he seemed to actually have quite a great deal of respect for her as well, because I think there was an issue to do with some sort of conflict. I'm not 100% sure, but some British troops had died very recently. And I noticed, I watched the video, Putin doesn't really speak English very often, but I think he knows English very well. And that's one thing I
Yes.
very much respect about him. He doesn't let on about his abilities. He keeps it to himself.
Yes.
He makes the outside world think that he's a very insular, you know, Russia, Russia, Russia. But he understands what she's saying. And when she said something along the lines of, you know, it's very sad that these lot have died, he nodded his head in agreement. It was a non-verbal, he didn't do it on purpose. He was reacting like there. You just shook your head to agree with me. You do it naturally. It's a social cue. We don't think to do it, but when we sincerely believe what the person we're listening to is telling us, we respond accordingly. You know what I mean? And I respect him for that. But the thing is, just to touch on Queen Elizabeth for a second, like, you may find this odd. I mean, you seem to be a nationalist, and maybe you don't find this odd, but I don't check my phone. I don't keep up with social media. I hate it on principle, right? But my very good friend knows that about me, and he called me. He called me when Kobe Bryant died, right? I used to play basketball, so it meant a lot to me that Kobe Bryant died. But my friend called me, and he was like, yo, I got some bad news for you. And I was like, what happened? And he was like, Queen Elizabeth's died. And I was like, fuck. Got off the phone with him, and I actually sat there for a second, and I was like, wow, the second Elizabethan era has ended. And you know what I did? I stood up, I played God Save the Queen, and I saluted. No one's here. I'm just by myself. And I stood for my national anthem, and I saluted, and I listened to it. And I remember saying to myself, the next time I hear this song, it will be God Save the King.
Yeah.
It's right for me to have a moment of respect. My mother, right? My mum lives in a place right next to Windsor. You know Windsor?
Yeah.
Windsor Castle. So
Yes, Windsor. I heard about it. Yeah.
I happened to be going home because Queen Elizabeth died on the 8th of September. I happened to be going home to my hometown on the 9th. I took a detour to Windsor. It's only a 15-minute drive from where my mum lives. And I walked around Windsor. And again, I caught myself acting out, mourning. I was mourning. I did cry. I did cry because I was like, this is the head of state.
Yes.
You know, I'm actually a fairly patriotic guy. And have you ever heard of the Overton window?
Yes, I heard about it. Yes, Overton window. Yeah.
What you may think of as nationalistic by your standards is probably not identical to what I would consider nationalistic by our standards.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling you and me are actually quite similar in this regard. I have respect for where I come from. I like where I come from. You know what I mean? There's a lot of history where I come from, and I think it's a good thing to be a British person. You know, you probably think the same about being a Russian citizen, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I respect that. I respect that.
Despite the so much hate that I received online for just not for just expressing my position, but for just being Russian. My YouTube channel, my Facebook account, they all have my name in Russian, and when I go comment under some video, there is always some asshole who says that fuck off, you're Russian, and I hope all Russians die, fuck all Russians. Yeah, excuse me, my French.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Do you know what the thing is, though, yeah? Some people, it's the idea that, see, I would argue that, you know, as you can tell from this conversation, when I believe what I'm saying, I speak with passion, but I have an opinion. My opinion doesn't have me. And that's the idea that I think is lost on a lot of people nowadays. Like, on paper, we should be arguing or we should not agree. But really, when we get down to talking with each other like human beings, you clearly are quite well educated and you're thoughtful. You know what I mean? You've clearly thought about your position. I have thought about my position.
Yeah.
And there's a level of respect that we give each other because and it's regardless, we happen to agree more than disagree.
Yeah.
But even if we did disagree more, I have a respect for you for being calm and talking with me. But the issue with a lot of people is that they let their opinion have them, and then they lose it. They let that emotion basically, their whole position becomes emotion.
Yeah.
I have emotion when I speak because I believe what I'm saying, but these people are overrun by it. And all I would say to you is, you know, you on the world stage, it's kind of a frowned upon thing to be Russian at the moment.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, human to human, I have a respect for you. I wish you no ill will. I have very much enjoyed this conversation, and I don't want you to think that people worldwide are all against you for the sake of it. There are people like me who actually can think. You know, we probably disagree on a lot.
Yeah.
I don't even know you. You've not even seen a picture of me. Like, I'm purposefully not. It's not because of you. It's a principle with. I don't like you. You know what I mean. But what I'm saying is, like, really what it boils down to is I hope you don't take any of the animosity against your nation to heart. Do you know what I mean? Don't take it personally.
Yes, I know. Well, as you can see, I've experienced animosity only online. I didn't actually leave the boundaries of Russia. I didn't go to any non-Russian, especially Western European country, so I didn't experience the hate personally, but online, oh my god. You see, it's my personal belief that when you are online, you have some sort of, that anonymity. Anonymity gives you some sort of, an illusion, and because you're anonymous, you think you can say like whatever you think you can say, and even like you're overwhelmed with emotions, with negative emotions, you can easily express these emotions without any fear of repercussion, because I highly doubt those people who said all this bad stuff to me, they would have the same audacity to say it in my face, because they know
I agree.
because they know there will be repercussions,
Of course.
That's what
This is the thing. This is one of the issues with the modern world nowadays. Don't get me wrong. I've got to say, this is incredible. So I'm currently living in a city called Southampton in England, right? It's where Titanic set sail from.
Yeah, I
And
know.
the only reason I'm telling you that is to emphasize my point, which is this: technology is a wonderful thing because you're some random Russian guy, I'm some random English guy,
Yeah.
and here we conversate, and it's a beautiful thing that we can do this, right? If I was to walk to you, it'd take me fucking months, mate. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm saying is, although technology is a wonderful thing, it is equally detrimental to the human psyche because, like you say, people get a delusion of grandeur. They think to themselves, I'm anonymous, I can say what I like, I can do what I like. And don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you've done it as well. Trolling is a thing still. Like,
Oh yeah.
the anonymity, it's a bit of a tongue twister. The anonymity isn't inherently good or bad. Like any tool, any power, it's how it's used that makes it good or bad. Trolling, anonymity can be quite a good thing sometimes, especially if you're a bit of an edgelord like me sometimes, right? But I do understand what you're saying, and all I would say is don't take it to heart. And people just get brave on the internet. They're keyboard warriors.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I grow tired of this, and sometimes no, I don't post bad things about an entire country, like say like F this, F that. I've never wished to destroy, and people have been asking me like, you're a Russian patriot, you wish to destroy America, you wish to destroy Britain, you wish to destroy France, Canada. No. I do not wish to destroy entire nations.
Do you think that Putin runs the risk of being assassinated within Russia right now? More so than not. I know he's got his opposition in general, but his security must be working double time right now. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I don't know if you've heard or not, but there is this Russian writer and philosopher named Alexander Dugin.
I think I've heard the name, but I can't say I'm familiar with his works.
No, that's okay. Well, the media considers him like some sort of he's a top advisor to Putin, which he's not, by the way. I don't think even Putin read his works or his books. But the thing is that his daughter was assassinated in a car bomb in Moscow.
Oh yeah, I have seen. Yeah, go on. Yeah, I'm with you. Go on.
Yeah. And she was assassinated in a car bomb in Moscow. The target was obviously her father, because he was supposed to ride on that car in that evening, but when that happened, but suddenly, like in the last minute, he decided to go to take another car, so his daughter was blown up instead of him. And you see, my friend,
Oh.
how could the FSB, be so, I don't know how to call it, but they blew it. They should have prevented this assassination.
Absolutely. I've got to say, I'm surprised they didn't just aim for Putin. I mean, maybe it's easier to go for the people around Putin.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong to assassinate, but the thing is, when you're in the political limelight, certain things just go with the job. You know what I mean? All political actors, even like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, by going on stage, you are in the line of sight. You naturally become that. So it's not right. Human beings being killed is never right, or well, it's not. That's a complex one, but you know what I mean, innit? But no, I did hear about that very recently, and I was very shocked about that because it sounded like some sort of mafia thing. I very recently watched The Godfather, and the whole idea of like a car bomb, I was thinking that's some Don Corleone sort of thing. You know what I mean? You've seen The Godfather?
Yes,
All like that, but
yeah, I did. I've seen The Godfather. Yes, the movie. Yes, but
great film.
Yeah, great film, but it was a long time ago. Well, yeah, I think Putin's security service, it works around the clock. It's difficult times we live in. Yeah, but still, I don't think he's going to be assassinated. There will be attempts, sure, but no.
I hope you don't get upset by what I'm going to say here, but like I said earlier, I just want a resolution to the conflict as soon as possible. And if that resolution comes by him being assassinated, I would be for it. Not to say it would, because it might not. It might make it worse. But hypothetically, if it were the case that him being assassinated would end the conflict, then I would be in favor of it. Do you understand my position, even if you disagree with it?
Well, yeah, I understand and I disagree, because
That's
even
fair.
if he gets assassinated, the people who come after him, they may go even tougher and even harder. You see?
Yeah, this is true. And there's that old saying in English: better the devil you know.
Oh yeah, I've heard that saying. Better the devil, yeah.
May I very briefly compliment you on your English? I don't mean that in a condescending way. I'm being sincere. I compliment you on your English. You have
Thank you.
You have good grasp of my language. I cannot say a thing in Russian. I know bistro means quickly. Babushka means grandmother. I don't know anything else.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say something like suka blять or no.
Oh, I know that. Come on now. I know about the whole Slav squat thing. I come from a place in England which is rife with Slavic people. It's mainly Polish Slavs. And I know that obviously there's lots of different cultures and regions. There's a complexity there. I'm familiar with Slavs. You know what I mean? I know Suka Blat and all that sort of stuff. You know, I wouldn't be so disrespectful. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing I will say. I remember I was in year 7, so I would have been 12 or 13. I don't know what your equivalent in Russia is, but I was taught French for 2 years and I was taught Spanish for 1 year. And I actually remember thinking to myself in those lessons at 13, 14 years of age, why do I need to learn these languages? They know mine. But I obviously look back on that now, and I don't blame myself for it. I was very naive. But there is an arrogance to English people when it comes to that. I wish I could speak another language. So I really commend you for having such a grasp on English. How many languages do you speak?
2, English and Russian.
Do you speak them to equal, like, are you fluent in each? Can you put yourself across confidently in each equally?
Yes, I think I can, yes. Put them so...
Fair enough. Well, I respect that. I'm going to take my leave shortly. I know it may sound stereotypical, but I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to take my leave. May I ask your name?
Okay, my name is Yuri. What's your
Yuri.
name?
That's very easy to pronounce. My
Yeah.
name is Kieran.
Excuse me, one more time?
Kieran.
Oh, Karen.
Yeah, very good actually. Very good. It's an Irish name. It's a little bit confusing, but my heritage is Irish, but I'm very much culturally English. But yeah, Kieran is my name. Yuri, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Very informative and insightful.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you too. You don't meet that many smart thinking people on Omegle. A little bit more of them on chat roulette, but Omegle it's mostly mostly
Dicks.
yeah, and stupid dumb kids.
That too. But it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope that we can both agree on this, that we want to live in peace and for an end to conflict as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah,
So
and
with that, Yuri, go on.
Yeah, and I have to say, I really did enjoy the conversation. It's been a pleasure talking to people like you because, and I have to say that, of course, I've met one or two aggressive, like British guys, but the only guy who actually threatened to find me and kill me was an American.
Do you know what the funny thing is, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know how many times it's going to take Europeans to learn. We cannot invade Russia. Winter. Winter. You know what I mean? Like, if anyone was trying to come and get you, your friend Winter would back you up.
Yeah, maybe Americans should also learn this. Because that guy...
You know, they're such an arrogant bunch of pricks. Don't get me wrong, I relate to them more culturally. Like, I'm sure if you and me were to spend a week together with an American, I would end up at the end of that week relating to the American more. That's not to say I would like one of you more or respect one of you differently, but you understand what I mean. It's easy to relate to someone who comes from your culture. And American and British culture, they're quite close. But I got to say, like, it's very reactionary. You know, it's very easy to say fuck Russia. And it's very easy, you know, the true hallmark of an adult is a well thought out argument. And a lot of people are not willing to think honestly because they're just so quick to get on the bandwagon. And I'm not like that. I would rather walk than get on the wrong bandwagon.
Oh, yeah.
But Yuri, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to leave you and love you.
Yeah.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you, yeah.
Take it easy, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.